Hey, internet friends, good morning and welcome to Synergy Cafe. Do you have your beverage of choice? I do. I like coffee. In fact, I got a little project I'm working on that has coffee. I'm looking to do a coffee cart, coffee truck, and then a secret coffee shop. That's another story. So I'm going to go get our guest. This is going to be fun because interestingly enough, yesterday when I did a live stream, I had a mindset coach on, but this is a company that does it in groups, shifting the mindset. It's an interesting thing. A per paradigm, if you will. So let's go get her. Her name is Judy Ryan. A little knock on the door. Are you okay?
Yes,
You there?
I am here.
Good
Hi.
morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
So what part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in St. Louis, Missouri,
The
smack in
arts
the
of
middle. Yep.
I've been
Yep.
there. Magic conventions many times. You got a lot of magicians in St. Louis.
Yes.
You knew that?
Yeah, I actually dated a magician once.
Oh, see, there you go.
He was really, really good. I couldn't figure out his tricks.
That's good. You got to keep it a secret. So I don't do these real long. I keep it consumable, but we just get to know, like, and trust who you are and then talk more about your business. And we propagate it out to the world, and it's all about synergy. 1 + 1 = 11.
Yes.
Is that 11? That's 2. Peace. Okay. So how long you live there in St. Louis?
I've lived here my whole life. So
Okay.
it's like you, deep roots.
Deep roots. Well, I think that's a good thing. I think
Yeah.
you can travel, but then come back home like the
Exactly. We're central to everything.
It is that way, at the Midwest kind of thing. It's a different, like I always say, like on the East Coast, they kind of tell you like it is. They're real direct.
Yeah, sometimes I actually think I'm an East Coast soul stuck in a Midwest city because I'm pretty direct and I like to move fast.
Yeah, and then out in LA, they tell you what they're going to do, but that's not necessarily what they're really going to do. Then in the Midwest, they never make a decision.
Oh boy, that's why I'm saying to you, I think I'm an East Coast soul stuck here.
Yeah,
They don't. They're definitely slow to move.
So this is your company, I believe. Is it right here?
That's right.
LifeWorkSystems.com. So LifeWorkSystems, plural.com.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
So how long have you been working with them?
We have been in business. This is our 22nd year. We just started in October. So we've been around the block a few times.
Okay, no fly-by-night thing.
No.
Very cool. How did you get involved with it? Are you an employee or you own the dang
I'm
thing?
the owner and the CEO. And the way I got involved in it is I was introduced to a particular psychology way back in the 80s. And I found it to be so incredibly powerful that I knew that it would be helpful to lots of different people. And it was out ahead of itself. Even Adler, who is the psychology we use, there was a book written about him from some Japanese authors a couple of years ago called The Courage to be Disliked. And they said in the foreword of their book that he was at least 100 years ahead of his time. But his model is starting to converge with where organizational development and even just, excuse me, thought leadership is, with Simon Sinek and Brene Brown and Patrick Lencioni and some of the big thinkers in the world of business and psychology are all starting to say a very similar thing, which is if we don't address the conditions and conversations that make people their absolute best so that they can expand into their human potential, then we have missed the boat. And so that's kind of, what I've always believed, and I see what we're doing now starting to really.
Language is really, really important, especially when you're talking to yourself, what you're saying. That's part of it. But then some people, the way that their mind was created or the way they learned, they just say negative things, but they're not even aware. I mean, it's a forgive them for they know not what they do kind of thing,
Yes. Well, it's interesting. I'm reading a book right now called You're Not Broken. And it's very aligned with the work that I do. But most people have been conditioned to believe that they have limitations and that there's fearful beliefs that they've been taught about themselves that they bought into. And then that's kind of running their show. And so you're absolutely right that language is super important. And understanding what's the priority cause of something is also important.
Well, there's just one word that my wife catches me on all the time when I'm working on a project and I use the word if instead of when.
Yes.
By the way, that's doubt.
Yes.
So what are you going to get? you know?
Well, I listen for words like I have to, I ought to, I should, I need to, probably, I can't. All of those are words that come from limiting and fearful beliefs that we hold about ourselves.
So with your company, do you teach the individuals, or do you go in for a company and then help the company's employees kind of have a different mindset?
It's a great question. It's both. Because and it's not just a lot of organizations, they'll teach really important skills and concepts to the titled leaders. In our group, it's everyone from CEO to frontline staff. And we even mix the group activities so that it's not a bunch of homogenized leaders in one group and then the frontline people in another. And
Right.
I'll just tell you to something that lead you to something that I did as a mother of 5 children. When I was using this model in my parenting, my children all knew how to run a family meeting by the time they were 4 or 5 years old, because we wanted them to learn how to lead and follow. And I'm a strong leader, and I had to learn how to follow a 5-year-old so that I
Mhm.
wasn't steamrolling them, and that I could build them up and train them in how to hold that authority. And that's the way that we do it in organizations. So it's a very immersive process that's based in best practices that are coming out of education right now about what helps people learn and retain and use what they learn. But it's fully distributive. So a lot of people will come out of our system, which is a year-long process, and they'll say this is helping them at home with their kids, and this is helping them with their neighbors and their relatives. But then we also work in school reform and parenting sometimes, and they'll say this is helping me with my coworkers. So
Sure.
really good human systems are helpful in all relationship dynamics, including the one with ourselves. Like you said, our self.
Well, when I was in school, I never really liked school, any
Mhm.
of it.
Yeah.
I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. When I was a little kid, I did fundraisers for muscular dystrophy and turned the riding lawnmower into a train and carried a bunch of wagons behind and charged the kids a quarter. I would
Yes.
hang a sheet up in the garage and play Super 8 movies and charge the kids a quarter to watch. And so I've always been entrepreneurial, and I knew that I didn't really, Christopher Columbus and the Nina and the Pinta and the Santa Maria and all that stuff. I was wondering how's that going to make me a buck? I couldn't
Mhm.
really figure it out,
Right.
so I didn't like it.
Yeah. I
Schools
would
taught
say,
me.
Brad, I would say you more than most people have faith in your own path and your own power. A lot of people don't. In fact, when we get to the point of teaching personal responsibility, we'll say to people the most important questions you could ask yourself are, what am I feeling and what do I want? What do I really want? I mean, you talked a little bit ahead of time about the things you didn't want, and you knew when you didn't, and you stopped doing those things. I have people in their 40s, 50s, 60s that say to me, I've never asked myself, what am I feeling and what do I want? Because they've been so programmed to what they think they should do and what they
That's
have.
kind of what I was getting at, that when I
Yes.
was younger like that, but I did have this, like, when I shared the story when we were in the green room, that when I graduated, I went and got a job because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. Even though I was
Right.
already making money as a self-employed magician,
Right.
I went and got a job because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. So I think what you're talking about is you kind of go in there and say, you know what? Maybe there's another way. We're just going to kind of shift the gears a little bit.
Mhm.
Unless somebody's running a prison, then you're
Right.
going to keep them inside. But
Well, Brad, let me just comment on that. There was a prison in Florida years ago that used an Alfred Adlerian approach. I'm using that term because it's Adlerian psychology approach.
mhm,
And they reduced the repeat reincarceration rate, which is considered recidivism. They reduced recidivism from around 65 to 70% nationwide to 4%. And part of it is that they taught the inmates, you're no different than I am. You want the same things I do. You want to feel empowered, lovable, connected, and contributing. But you did it by joining a gang and going through their hoops to become a gang member and shooting somebody because your need to feel empowered, lovable, connected, and contributing was so great. And you didn't believe you could get in any other legitimate or caring way. So you override your conscience and your fear of
right.
imprisonment. And when they found out, they said to the inmates, take yourself out of the monster box and start considering how powerful you are and what you're causing with that power. And let's help you find a more fulfilling way to cause things in your life. And that's why that recidivism rate came down, because they taught them social interest in others. And what are we causing others and what do we want to cause others? And
Yeah,
it was
well,
very powerful.
it's a mindset shift. and I do that with my magic thing. Like, what is reality and what is your
Mhm.
imagination? It's all depends on
Yes.
what you believe in, and you can shift that thought. I have a friend that he was going down the wrong road. He went down. He's been to prison and all that, but I learned that prison is basically a college for criminals. They learn
Mhm.
how to be a criminal.
Yes.
He said that when he was younger, he just didn't know there was another way until
Right.
he started
Exactly.
his own business. He learned about, oh, there's a business opportunity here. I don't need
Yes.
to scheme a way to steal stuff
Right.
and create a
Right.
business. And that's what he
Yes.
does now. He runs a store down in California.
Well, and a lot of times what happens to people when they have an extreme situation like being in prison, they've already put themselves in what we call a monster box, and other people have put them in a monster box. And then they function as though they are somehow deficient or
Yeah.
broken. And it's really about re-educating you on you just didn't get the information. You just didn't know there was another way. And so let's help you to learn that. And that's happening even in the regular general population. People don't know that they have another way.
They don't know what
So
they don't know, right?
oh, it's so much that they don't know, they don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's life work systems. Judy with life work systems. That's how you can learn more about it right there on the little banner.
Thank you, Brad.
You can freeze that if you can take a screenshot. Well, that's what this is all about. Get people to know how to get to certain places. My mind is, the world has changed so much right now. The mindset, and even in the business marketing world, it used to be like, okay, you find your ideal client and then you put your product in front of them and they will buy it if the price is right and the value's there. And
Mhm.
now it's more like, just skateboard with the thing of ocean spray cranberry juice and people will notice it. And then when they go to the store, they psychologically remember it and they buy it. It's so
Mhm.
weird now.
Yes, it's totally different. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge we have sometimes is for people to really understand what can be different for them in their life. That's why we use a lot of stories. Brad, do we have time for a story? I'll tell you a story.
I think we do. Yeah, we're only into 12 minutes. So yeah, we got to
Okay.
tell me a story.
This is kind of a complex story, but I think it's a good illustration.
Okay.
So, of two things. One is what kind of model, and then what kind of way do we implement it with people? So we have this process that where people watch an individual online training module, they fill out a workbook, they fill out a post-training survey that's reflective. Then they come together in little staff-led groups, just like my kids did with their dad and I, where everybody's taking turns rotating, managing that small group discussion. And so we sit in and help them and guide them and support them, but they're learning how to own this process. Then they pair up and mentor each other. So there's about a 4.5 hour commitment of time every month for a year. So it's a pretty big commitment to transition, to really transform your mind and your practices and have everybody have a common set of tools, etc. Well, there was this one company, they had about 600 employees. And the first thing that the CEO wanted to do was have just his top C suite executives go through this process, even though I told him, no, we recommend that you mix it up. But he said, no, I just want them to go through it first. Well, about 2 months in, he says, you know what? I don't want them doing all that homework and leading groups and mentoring and all that stuff. I want you to just take all 52 of my leaders through this, all of your information, but no homework, no mentoring, no group discussion, and all that. So I did that. I told him what he was going to gain and what he was going to lose. In the first session, so I'm working with 52, everyone from supervisor up. And one of the tools we teach is we teach two tools on how to reduce or eliminate gossip. So the tool that we taught in the first session was called the Mind Trust. And it goes like this: Brad, I'm going to make 4 commitments to you. I'm going to commit to you that I won't say bad things about you behind your back. I'm going to commit that that if I have a problem with you, I will come to you directly and work it out with you. And that if someone comes to me to say bad things about you, I will stop them respectfully, and maybe I'll offer them that healthy venting tool that you're teaching us, but I won't let them rip on you, tear your reputation. And then the fourth thing is I'm going to commit to try to get them to go back to you so that they don't hold on to that grudge or take it to other people. And so then, I would invite you to do the same 4 commitments, and it's face to face. So I teach this to these 52 people, but they don't have any time where they're reflecting on it, writing about it, really considering each of those commitments, right? But they're all excited about it. So I said, will you all go to one another on Zoom or in person and do this process between now and the next time we meet? And they're like, yes, yes. So we get to the end of 6 months because we have over 30 tools and concepts. And we've done this in these 2-hour sessions every other week for 6 months. One of the directors calls me, and he has 8 managers under him. And he says to me, we have all these new tools and everything you've given us, but we're still at each other. We're not getting along very well. We don't really know how to apply all of this. Could you come in and work with us? And this is where it gets kind of interesting, because I said, well, I'll call your CFO. I've got a call to her already to find out if there's budget for this. So when I called her, she was the chief financial officer, also part of the program. And I said, so-and-so would like for me to come in and work with his group of 8 managers. Would you have funding for this? And she says to me, oh, he really needs it. He was saying such terrible things about me at a meeting with the managers that 2 of them got so upset about it, they came and told me all the bad things he said. And so I said to her, did you by any chance ask them if they stopped him? Because don't they have a commitment to you that they won't let anybody rip on you? And she said, oh, I didn't even think about that. And I said, I guess you didn't ask them whether or not they went to him because they had a problem with him doing that. And she said, no, I didn't think of that either. And I said, once you knew he was saying bad things about you, did you go to him and talk to him directly? Because then you had a problem with him. And she said, no, in fact, I went and tattled on him to his manager, who was the VP. And he turned out to have been in the meeting, and he didn't stop him either. And then she goes, what is wrong with all of us? Isn't that hilarious? So what I said to her is, that's why we recommend this immersion process, because it's not easy to change behavior or mindset.
Right.
And it's like I gave them all a tennis racket and they thought it made them a tennis player, when in reality, if somebody gives you a tennis racket and you don't even really understand the game or the rules or the concept or the moves, you don't get out there on the court, you don't necessarily get any coaching, you don't develop any muscle memory or love for the game, you're not a tennis player just because you have a tennis racket. Sure. And that's really a story that kind of illustrates why we do this immersive process, but also how powerful a tool will be if you really own it and apply it and retain it. So that's why we train the whole environment so that everybody has, if I said to you, hey, we've got a new employee, let's all go do a mind trust, you and I would now know what that means. Or, oh, somebody came to me today to vent, but I said to them, I'll only do that if you do healthy venting, because we have a common language and tool set. Excuse me. So I hope that kind of illustrates a little bit about why.
That was a good story, and we still got a few minutes. It's interesting because that's what happens is it gets in, and there's a almost a culture, where they're joking, maybe tattling on each other and stuff. It ends up being
well, in this instance, I don't even think it was joking. I think they were all really upset.
That's what could happen.
Oh yeah, it totally happens if you don't have a structure that people have bought into and really committed to, and they're not going to commit to it just hearing it once.
No, it ends up having to be part of the culture that
Yes.
This is what we do. And it isn't that you're a tattletailer.
Yes.
Like that you just ask the question.
But think about it, Brad. Let's say you promised me that you were going to come to me if you had a problem with me, which is step 2, commitment 2, right? But what if I'm your boss and you're scared to come to me if you have a problem? You're afraid I might fire you. Right. See, part of the whole system is if you don't have tools to know how to go to somebody respectfully and directly, with real tools and confidence and support, you're not going to go to that person when you're afraid it's going to blow up in your face. So it's really part of a larger situation. There was a woman one time, she learned this tool called the frustration tool, where you say to somebody, I don't like it when you cancel meetings and you don't tell me, because what I most want is to know where I'm supposed to be at all times so I can do a really good job and feel peaceful in my work and serve you well. And I want good teamwork. So what I want from you is I want you to text me, email me, or call me if you're going to change a meeting. And she learned that tool, but she was afraid of conflict, but she learned that tool and she felt good about that tool and she practiced it. And then she went to somebody that wasn't part of the culture. He was a chief executive officer, not the CEO, but the CFO. And she told him those very words. And he said, lady, I pay your paycheck. You don't pay my paycheck. How dare you? Who do you think you are? And she came back and she called me and she goes, despite using a very respectful tool, he reacted this way. And I said, yeah, remember we say what's in your yard, what's in his yard. your yard, how did you do? You practiced, you delivered the tool. How did you feel about all that? She goes, I was really proud of myself. I said, yeah, his reaction is in his yard. And isn't that none of your business? And she said, yeah, I forgot. And I said, well, don't let him take that from you. So a couple months later, she calls me and she says, you know what? He's never done that to me again. I didn't get fired, which one of the things she was worried about. And she said, and now he's coming to me saying, what's this stuff you guys are doing over here? Because people are leaving his department and coming to their department because it's like night and day. So I tell you that because even when you do have tools, it still can be scary to go to somebody and address the problem directly with them instead of talking bad about them.
I'm big with analogies and stuff. So tools, if you're scared to use a skill saw or a circular saw and you're not going to use it.
Right.
You're
Right.
probably going to get hurt if you do. So I totally get it.
Yeah. And if you don't have the right mindset and the right support, you won't. Yeah.
Well, Judy with lifeworksystems.com. There it is. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to put you into the green room. You can stick around there and have some of our lovely digital hors d'oeuvres. They're locale. There's no cocktails back there. I'm a non-drinker, so there's some coffee.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for this. And maybe there's something we could do. If you do corporate stuff, there's a lot of corporate here in Minneapolis.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you, Brad.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much. That's Judy. Well, there you go. And that's what it is right there, lifeworksystems.com. So go check out the website. And I think her phone number is right there prominent. And you can give her a call and ask some questions if you've got some opportunity for something like this. I think it's an important thing, especially if you're building a company and you got a team and stuff. You don't want them growing up the wrong way, right? Right. Okay. That's all for now. So enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice? I did say be nice. Be nice. Peace.